So recently I reviewed Bad Boys Miami Takedown, and honestly in terms of everything else I've looked at, it really wasn't that bad. However, on the very same list I found it, there was a much worse cop related game, and that was Beverly Hills Cop. Now to be honest, I wasn't really familiar with this series. I mean, I knew it had Eddie Murphy and was a monster hit back in the 80s, but apart from that, basically nothing. So I went ahead and watched the first movie, and it's pretty fucking good. I mean, this franchise as a whole has grossed over $700 million. And at this point, I'd normally say, when something is this successful, it'll get a video game. But when it comes to Beverly Hills Cop, I'm not so sure that's the case. See, this game came out in 2006, which is 12 years after the final movie, and bear in mind, that was Beverly Hills Cop 3. So I'm really struggling to believe that someone said, right, we've got this franchise that's been inactive for over a decade, and the last installment got 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. So what it really needs is a video game from the same company that bought you Little Britain. Actually, when you put it like that, it doesn't sound so surprising. Anyway, in terms of reviews, it's basically what you'd expect, although there is one that stands out, that being that a reviewer at Giant Bomb referred to this game as this. So yeah. Anyway, without further ado, let's find out how bad this game really is. So saying this game actually has a story is a bit dubious, since it doesn't seem very interested in actually telling one. No, it seems far more interested in being an homage to the films. Which is fine, I mean, it is based off the films, but they've basically forgone any narrative structure just to make you say, oh look, it's that part from the movie. I mean, you have the strip club from the first film, the chop shop from the third one, the customs warehouse from the first, and the final mission is clearly trying to be the showdown with Victor Maitland. Although, how any of these missions are actually connected is anyone's guess. Now you might ask, does it capture the feel of the movies? No, even the menu music is just some crappy off-brand version. Although more importantly, Beverly Hills Cop was a fun action comedy, and at the heart of that was Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley, who in this game is, yeah. Who the fuck is that? That's not Eddie Murphy. Granted, they weren't able to use his likeness, but you can still use lookalikes. Just look at Will Smith in Miami Takedown. Didn't actually look like him, but at least he had hair. Why is he shiny bald? I actually saw someone online call him Mr. Clean with a jacket, which is shockingly accurate. Anyway, at this point I'd normally complain about the shitty voice acting, if there was any to actually complain about. Because this game doesn't have any. Seriously, every single interaction is just text at the bottom of the screen. And not only is this about as unengaging as physically possible, but Axel Foley's ability to talk his way out of situations was a large part of what made the film entertaining. So when you reduce it to this, it clearly isn't going to have the same impact. No shit, they even tried to add jokes which obviously fall flat. Either because you don't notice them, or because a joke's delivery is just as important as the joke itself. So naturally, it's very hard to laugh at something like this. And even if you do laugh, it won't be for long, because you're going to be seeing them a lot. So the main issue with this game is it's ridiculously overambitious. If they just focused on one aspect, it might have turned out better, but no, they try to make Skyrim with Scratch, and the result is fucking hellish. Right, so this game has a grand total of 6 missions, or missions, which might not sound like a lot, but trust me, it's 6 too many, especially since all of them have what appears to be a really loud AC unit in the background. They also have 3 distinct parts, gunfight, stealth, and speech, that somewhat reminds me of Oblivion, except, you know, it's terrible. Anyway, before I get onto that, I'd like to talk about the missions themselves. See, I've already mentioned they've been ripped straight from the film, however it's very obvious they didn't have enough film related content to actually fill them, so they've taken some creative liberties to pad them out. And by that, I mean they've deliberately designed them in a way that will constantly piss off the player. Seriously, this might as well be called Beverly Hills Backtracker, because that's what you spend all of your time doing. For example, in any other video game, opening a door would be as simple as getting a keycard. But no, not in Beverly Hills Cop. See, even if you see the keycard, you can't collect it. Instead, you have to walk up to the door, trigger a cutscene that will activate it, and only then can you backtrack and get it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. When it comes to time-wasting activities this game has in store for you, the absolute worst example is the fucking strip club level. The goal here is to steal incriminating documents, but considering something as simple as opening a door is designed to give you a fucking migraine, you obviously can't just walk in and get them. Instead, you have to pick up 5 empty glasses for the barman, talk to 2 separate strippers who take you to another room just to tell you they won't help you, sign off a delivery, get a folder from someone's car, and only then can you grab the documents. Oh, and just to make things slightly more unbearable, they've made the cutscenes fucking unskippable. This game came out in 2006. Anyway, with that out of the way, I'll move on to the sections I mentioned, starting with the gunplay. Now, it shares many of the same issues as Miami Takedown, that being that aiming is a fucking chore, and enemies take about 1 million bullets to kill. Although here it's dialed to 11, essentially because you have all those issues combined with a game that's completely unfinished. For example, you'll aim at enemies only to find out that everywhere you shoot has a badly placed invisible wall. Are you joking? Look at the size of that gap. And what's worse is not 10 feet away you can do this. So you're telling me I can shoot through a tiny gap in a fence, but not one that's big enough for my entire body? Are you taking the piss? However, the worst part, or I guess the most broken part about gunfights, is this. See, you might have noticed I'm about 3 feet tall for most of the footage, and that's because, you know, I can't actually believe I'm saying this. It's because the AI aren't programmed to shoot downwards, so if you stay crouched, they can't hit you. Genuinely, you have glitches and then you have this. I mean, did the testers just not crouch for 3 hours? Because I'm not entirely convinced this went unnoticed. Then again, while this may be broken, it's also very easy, something that cannot be said for the next 2 features. So stealth is a big part of this game, which is fucking brilliant because it works about as well as stopping a ceiling fan with your head. Essentially, you have sections where you need to sneak past enemies, which is really, really hard because the AI has omnipresent awareness. And I know what you're thinking, just shoot them before they see you. Well, this does work, sometimes. Honestly, it depends on what mood the game's in, because yes, you can shoot people, but sometimes they'll trigger the alarm despite the fact they're dead. There was even a point where some bloke told me to get back to work after I'd killed him, so yeah, it's just a gamble, really. Anyway, what this broken stealth mechanic means is you'll be spotted a lot, which is bad because there isn't a single checkpoint in this entire game. So take that strip club level for instance. The manager patrols the final section, and if he sees you, it's game over, and you have to do all those bullshit tasks again. I mean, why they even bothered with stealth is beyond me, because it's not even the slightest bit satisfying to pull off. However, despite what it may seem, stealth isn't the biggest cause of failure in this game. No, that title goes to these spinning circles created by the devil himself. The idea here is to land on a green circle 3 times to complete dialogue. How it works is the more greens you hit, the more will appear, making it easier, and the more reds you hit, the less will appear, making it harder. Although unlike stealth where you have minimal control, here you have none, and of course if you fail, this happens. And trust me, you're going to be seeing that screen a lot. The first level alone took me over 20 attempts, and from there, it just got worse and worse. This genuinely has to be one of the most anxiety-inducing features I've ever seen in a video game, because it's there exclusively to fuck you over at the worst moments. A lot of the time, you have no idea when it's going to show up, and when it does, it almost always results in a game over. Oh, and you can't just shoot people to stop it happening, because if they're scripted to do it, it'll just trigger the dialogue even sooner. Although the worst thing is it occurs during events that happen regardless. For example, there's a part where you're cornered by some gangsters, and if you fail, they'll shoot you, but if you pass, they'll also shoot you. Seriously, that's going to happen either way. Why do I have to risk redoing the entire level all over again? Yeah, there's none. There's just none. Moving on. So you've probably seen the title of the video, unless it's been changed since I recorded this, but yeah, this is the worst game I've ever played by far. And I know you can argue it's not finished, so what did you expect? But it's not like they didn't know what they were releasing. See, this game got a limited release. Now I don't know exactly why, but all things considered it was probably damage control. I mean, if it were me, I'd want as few people as possible to experience this. And it genuinely seems like this is what happened. They knew how shit this game was, and they wanted to keep as many people from playing it as physically possible. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.